Now at 9, Joplin police ask for the public's help identifying an armed robber. Plus,
in less than a week, Webb City High School students will be back to new classrooms. I'm Fernanda Silva, and I'll show you the new esports edition.
And there's a new electric vehicle charging station in Neosho, Missouri that officials hope will boost the local economy.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tanya Bach. When a new year begins at Webb City High School next week, students will suddenly have a brand new option. Webb City High School students will have 6 brand new classrooms. One of them a $50,000 esports edition. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
Chastity Cardoza graduated from Webb City High School just 3 months ago. Now she wishes she could go back to school to make use of its new esports edition.
I feel pretty mad about it. I really wish they had that. I really wish I could have been part of something that I actually like.
Like Chastity, other high schoolers are interested in technologies that surround the esports world. Esports is short for electronic sports, a form of competition using video games.
Kids are gaming. I mean, the reality is kids are gaming, and so if they can make a connection with the school and represent the school, we know that kids that are successful, that are in our co-curricular and extracurricular programs, they do better academically, they do better behaviorally.
As the fall semester starts, the school will recruit students to join their team. They plan to compete in both regional and state tournaments.
Actually, all of the schools in the COC, our conference, the Central Ozark Conference, have to some extent an esports program. Some are more elaborate than others. Some may only have a few computers that are dedicated. We have an entire lab that's dedicated to it.
The esports edition will also serve as classrooms for some high school students. Instead of sitting in regular chairs, they will be on these ones to learn coding and programming. School officials also expect the facility to help students with their future.
Also teaches a lot of teamwork skills. It's not just kids playing games. There are a lot of soft skills that are involved. There's a lot of communication involved. Military and security areas use drones and a tremendous amount of the esports skills. The construction business, iron workers, there's a lot of that's done not unlike how you would play the esports games.
Webb City High School students will also have new labs, a remodeled theater, and other additions for the fall semester. In Webb City, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
According to the school district, 204 schools in Missouri are currently involved with esports. They also say because all the competitions are online, there's no need to travel. Well, the weather outside looks pretty good for traveling. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with the first look at the forecast.
You are so right, Tanya. It's been a beautiful day across not only our area, but pretty much the entire central United States. Just a few high clouds drifting down from the north. And this morning, temperatures were very pleasant, generally in the upper 50s and lower 60s for lows this morning. And then this afternoon, temperatures only made it into the upper 70s and low 80s across the area. And now we're starting to see temperatures dropping back into the 60s and 70s. And as we go into the overnight hours, we're going to see temperatures dropping all the way through the 60s to about 56 degrees tomorrow morning. That is certainly nice. So we're going to call it a cool night tonight, a wonderful Wednesday. And then we're going to start a slow warm up as we head towards the weekend. And also we're going to be in an extended dry period, which is not going to help the drought situation. And of course, I'll have all details on that in your forecast in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Sam. Authorities turned to the public for help in finding a robbery suspect. Last night, near midnight, Joplin police received a report of an armed robbery at Max Stop convenience store at 1302 South Schifferdecker Avenue. A surveillance camera showed the robber, but his face was covered and he wore gloves. He pointed a handgun at an employee and demanded money. The robber left with an undisclosed amount of cash. No one was hurt. 4 staters considering getting electric vehicles now have a new charging option. Liberty Utilities today held a ribbon cutting for a new electric vehicle charging station. The chargers support any plug-in electric vehicle and offer 24/7 driver support and monitoring. This represents the first installation in Liberty's Ready to Charge program. The EV charging stations are in downtown Neosho for easy access to and from Interstate 49.
These are slower. They're not necessarily those fast charge in 15 or 20 minutes. So this does give folks some time to, walk the park, shop, eat, and really enjoy Neo Show.
Liberty's Ready to Charge program launched in October of 2022. Fair season in the area might be nearing its end, but the Interstate Fair and Rodeo in Coffeyville, Kansas is in full swing. Competitors today showed off their pigs, cows, rabbits, and sheep. One exhibitor we spoke with says the fair teaches some valuable lessons.
It definitely takes a lot of determination and responsibility. You have to go out every morning and every night, feed them, brush them, walk them, take care of them. Taking care of them, that part is the easiest part for me. It's getting them controlled, able to walk. That's the hardest part.
The fair continues through Saturday with more events including a carnival, monster truck rides, and a demolition derby. An animal rescue shelter in Joplin celebrates a milestone. The Golden Paw Pet Rescue celebrates its silver anniversary this year. The rescue has been a friend to man's best friend in Joplin for 25 years now. That's a lot of grooming and pet adoptions, but for one of the shelter's founders, it's been a real labor of love.
But there have been thousands of animals that have come through Golden Paw, been adopted, animals we groomed, animals we kept, just all kinds. And that's my passion, animals. The other thing that really is wonderful is the number of clients who actually have turned into personal friends over the years. And there's a lot of those.
Golden Paw Pet Rescue is located at 2300 North Main Street in Joplin. Coming up, a drop-off on back-to-school vaccinations.
Health officials are urging parents to make vaccines a priority on their back-to-school checklist. I'm Garrett Tenney in Chicago with that story coming up.
The race is on to update children's vaccinations as the new school year begins. Since the pandemic, some states have seen a drop-off in the number of kids completing their vaccine regimen. Fox News correspondent Garrett Tenney has more.
As millions of children return to the classroom, parents are scrambling to get their kids vaccinated for the new year and to prepare for a possible triple-demic of COVID-19, the flu, and RSV this fall.
Get vaccinated when the vaccinations are available and make yourself and your family as safe as you can.
Some vaccines on the CDC schedule are already mandatory for students, like measles and polio. But during the pandemic, some states fell behind. According to Florida's health department, the number of kindergarten and 7th grade students completing their required vaccinations dropped to a more than 10-year low during the 2020-2021 school year. Other shots, such as those for COVID and the flu, are usually just recommended for K through 12 students. But some doctors are urging parents to add them to the vaccine regimen.
I think school is going to be a challenging time coming back, and we're going to see more COVID increasing, as well as other respiratory illnesses.
The push to get kids vaccinated comes as schools across the country battle chronic absenteeism. Recent data shows more than a quarter of students missed at least 10% of school during the 2021 to 2022 academic year, compared to just 15% before the pandemic.
Last year we battled chronic absenteeism, which was at an all-time high of 50%. We improved it by 10 percentage points throughout the year. But we need to do better than that.
Data from the Associated Press estimates 6.5 million more students have become chronically absent since the pandemic. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
A brain mapping project has shown individual brain changes are linked to mental health conditions like schizophrenia and depression. Researchers in Australia used new statistical techniques to analyze connections with mental health conditions. They found individuals with the same diagnoses often did not have the same brain deviations, which researchers said could explain differences in symptoms and treatment outcomes. Well, Sam is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, as Kansas high schools begin their first week of football practice, we'll hear from the Pittsburgh Purple Dragons.
Well, I hope you had a chance to get out and enjoy the really nice weather that we've had for the last couple of days. As summer's going to start to make a return to our area, couldn't last forever. We are starting out this morning at Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. And as it goes through the afternoon, you can see bright sunny skies and just a few clouds in the afternoon, just some puffy fair weather cumulus clouds. And then this evening, once the sun goes down, those clouds start to go away and we're left with a beautiful evening. In fact, we only made it up to 80 degrees in Joplin today after starting out at 60, which was of course well below the normals of 91 and 68. And we're actually ahead on the rainfall for the month, but we're still way behind for the year, about 8 inches still on the rainfall just in our deficit. Over the last couple of days, we have seen some areas where there has been quite a bit of rain. In fact, along and south of I-44, especially in southern Craig County and northern Delaware County, just getting a lot of rainfall. But unfortunately, out to the west in Chautauqua and Elk counties, they have been dry, and it looks like it's going to be dry all this week. Temperatures right now are very pleasant. 68 in Stockton, same thing in Nevada, as well as Fort Scott. 67 already in Lamar, mid-70s out to the west. We're at 74 in Independence. And we're looking at the dew points. This kind of gives you an idea of where we're headed as far as overnight lows, as the temperature cannot drop below the dew point. And right now we're looking at dew points in the 50s and 60s. So it's going to be a very, very pleasant evening out there, and also refreshing as we go towards the morning with temperatures in the 50s. Right now in Joplin at 69, northeast wind at 5, and dew point at 59 degrees, so the humidity is creeping up at 70%. Rain chances are going to be low over the next 36 hours and really for several days, and that's because we have this ridge of high pressure that's going to be building into our area as we head towards the weekend, and that means summer-like temperatures are going to return as well. I don't think we'll hit 100, but it's going to get pretty close as the storm track is going to be way up to the north. Tonight, though, very nice. Open up the windows, enjoy it with temperatures in the mid-50s, northerly winds. And then tomorrow, partly cloudy skies with highs in the low 80s across the area, still below normal. And then as we go into Thursday morning, we'll see lows in the mid-60s with westerly winds. And then Thursday afternoon, getting closer to normal with temperatures in the upper 80s to lower 90s, especially down in Oklahoma. Then on Friday morning, lows will be generally in the 60s across the area. And over the next 7 days, it's going to be dry for the next several days. And then we're going to start getting close to 100 as we go towards the weekend. And then the next chance of rain won't arrive until about Friday of next week, Tanya. So there you go.
That's a long stretch.
That's a long stretch. We definitely need the rainfall, especially for our friends over in the western part of our viewing area where the drought is just really hanging tough.
Man.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that this weekend it's going to get up there close to 100 again, though.
Yeah, I just couldn't bring myself to put the 100 on
It
there.
might as well be. It's going to feel like it, that's for sure.
That's right.
All right, thanks, Sam. Well, coming up, mixed feelings on the economy.
President Biden says the economy is looking good thanks to Bidenomics. Republicans, meanwhile, say get used to high prices. They aren't going anywhere. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have that story coming up.
President Biden today addressed the #1 issue to voters, the economy, which has stood up to high inflation and interest rates on his watch. The numbers bear him out for now. Consumers are still spending, but millions are spending beyond their means. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
President Biden headed to Milwaukee Tuesday to tout the successes of Bidenomics. Jobs, wages, and retail sales all climbed in July.
Wages are growing faster than inflation. Folks, that's Bidenomics. It's about growing an economy by strengthening the middle class.
But also climbing credit card and auto loan delinquencies and credit card debt. Inflation is another thing that crept up slightly last month to 3.2%. That increase is way down from last summer's high of 9.1%, but Republicans say don't expect prices to come down.
Inflation is cooked into your prices already, and so it's elevated, it strains your budget as a family, and then you double that by the fact that you've got higher interest rates on your credit card bills.
Even if inflation goes to zero tomorrow, we're still going to be stuck with these higher prices.
The Federal Reserve is focused on inflation ahead of next month's meeting, where they will decide whether to raise interest rates yet again. The key question:
have we done enough to actually get inflation all the way back down to our 2% mark, or do we have to do more?
Adding to the economic pressures, federal student loan payments will resume in October for the first time in 3 years. A new survey from Credit Karma says 56% of borrowers will have to choose between making the payments and paying rent and groceries. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
President Biden is urging the big three U.S. car makers and the United Auto Workers Union to work together towards a fair agreement to avoid a strike. The current contract is set to expire in a month. In his statement, the president also said companies should offer good-paying jobs and that steps should be taken to avoid painful plant closures. UBS has agreed to pay $1.4 billion to settle a lawsuit with the Department of Justice. The U.S. accused the Swiss lender of defrauding investors into its sale of risky mortgage-backed securities in the lead-up to the 2008 financial crisis. Up next, any Swifties out there wanted to earn college credit for studying their favorite artist? We have the class for you. Taylor Swift's amazing success and broad appeal are certainly worth studying, and Ghent University in Belgium thinks her lyrics are worth studying too. The school is launching a new literature course dedicated to the literary merit of Taylor Swift's discography. The course is called Literature, Taylor's Version, a nod to the artist's re-recorded album titles. It'll be available to students this fall. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. A Joplin organization hosts an art exhibit at the Spiva Center focused on showcasing the perspective of the LGBTQ+ community. Plus, the publisher of a Kansas newspaper speaks out after police raided his home and newspaper office last week. A new exhibit opened up today at the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has the story.
Art has always been a way to bring people together. It makes us ask questions. It allows us to submerge ourselves into completely different worlds. And for many, it allows them to express who they truly are.
It's honestly really nice to see that our community is getting support in places like this, regardless of, state lines or geography or anything else. We're all part of one community. We're all gathering to be here. So I think that's actually just a really nice thing to see.
James is a 20-year-old art student from New York. To say the least, Midwestern Missouri comes as a bit of a surprise.
Honestly, I was very shocked that the show was happening in Missouri. And maybe it's a North thing that you kind of hear how bad things are down here with legislation and stuff like that.
However, it doesn't stop this community from engaging and expressing who they are through some incredible pieces of artwork.
Well, it's important, especially in today's climate, that people realize that they're not only accepted, that they're celebrated. And by looking at gay artists' work and being proud of them and being happy for them, and we even have prize money, too. So it's just something that needs to happen.
I think who I am is just who you are. It's living your truth. It's loving who you are. It's waking up every single morning and realizing that you can be yourself. And it just doesn't matter who anybody thinks. It's being able to express yourself through art or through music or through any kind of art medium that you choose.
For James, a self-portrait is the best way he can express who he is.
Again, representation I think is really important, and other young artists looking and seeing art that is queer and proud of it, I think is really important as well.
Reporting in Joplin, Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
For those interested in visiting the exhibit, it will be at the Cornell Arts Complex until September 30th. Jasper and Newton County's chapter of 100 Women Who Care donated $3,700 to the Area Agency on Aging. The money will go towards the Meals on Wheels program and fund much-needed add-ons such as fresh produce, paper products, and other essentials. Currently, participants receive one meal with milk and bread.
That's not a lot when you're thinking about that. That's supposed to last them a week or two, a meal per day. So these add-ons are just going to be these little extra things that they need.
We just get together for 1 hour every quarter, listen to a charity, and vote on that charity, the one that tugs our hearts. And then we write a check, and we're done.
100 Women Who Care donated more than $50,000 to local organizations since starting the Jasper and Newton counties chapter. Publisher of a newspaper in Marion County, Kansas, is speaking out about last week's police raid on his home and newspaper office. He says he's considering whether to take legal action and says he's fielding phone calls from media outlets around the nation and the world. Nick Nelson has the latest.
Marion County Record Eric Meyer.
This is Marion County Record publisher Eric Meyer answering a phone call from the state of New York. The phones at the Marion County Record have been ringing off the hook from people around the country who are supporting them after this raid. Headlines have circled the globe after police raided the Marion County Record's newsroom, as well as Meyer's home, a raid Meyer calls unprecedented. He says he's in almost constant communication with his legal team to figure out what kind of litigation they should pursue, if any.
Every attorney we've talked to says it. Every person who's read about this story says it. And there's no one, literally no one, who has said it was proper to execute this search warrant. And if there is, let them call me up and tell me.
This all stems from an incident where reporters for the Record were kicked out of an event hosted by Carrie's Kitchen, owned by Carrie Newell. Reporters later discovered Newell had a suspended driver's license and a DUI, as she was trying to obtain a liquor license for her business. Meyer insists Record reporters obtain the information through completely legal channels.
We not only did not do anything illegal, we reported everything we did, and we would have gladly shared almost anything that we gathered with the police if they had asked, instead of wanting to come knock our doors down and throw us out and seize our equipment. So why did they want to seize our equipment?
The Marion Police Department insists it's doing its job in investigating potential criminal activity, saying in a statement while the law does protect newsrooms from most searches, that's not the case when journalists themselves have committed a crime. Meyer is also dealing with the death of his 98-year-old mother, Joan, co-owner of the paper, who he says died due to the stress of the raid.
You know, they're going to go visit a 98-year-old woman and make the last day of her life total hell, which I will never forgive these people for doing that. And if they aren't held accountable by the people of the city of Marion, I will never forgive the people of the city of Marion.
Throughout this hardship, Meyer says he's grateful for the support the paper is receiving.
The outpouring of support and all the different interviews that I've done and all the different other things I've got to do to get the paper put together are probably a blessing in a very strange way.
Police Chief Gideon Cody did not respond to questions about whether police filed a probable cause affidavit for the search warrant. A bit later, taking steps to protect our water.
A city in Florida leading the way, removing forever chemicals from drinking water. I'm Casey Stiegel. We'll tell you how they're doing it coming up.
Boy, you just cannot beat the weather that we've had the last couple of days, especially for mid-August with temperatures below normal and also some decent rainfall. Right now, a very pleasant evening out there at Seneca, Missouri with Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. A beautiful night shaping up across the area. A cool night by the time we reach morning. This afternoon, we only made it up to 80 degrees after starting at a cool 60, which was below the normals of 91 and 68. We're above normal for the rainfall so far for the month, but for the year, we're still about 8 inches behind, so we need some more rainfall. Speaking of rainfall, there was quite a bit over the last couple of days, especially along and south of I-44, especially in southern Craig County and northern Delaware County, also over in Lawrence County, also some showers and storms in southeastern Kansas. Unfortunately, they need some rain badly in Chautauqua, Elk, and Greenwood counties, but none was to be had for the most part. We do have pleasant temperatures this evening, though. 68 in Fort Scott and in Nevada, 67 cool degrees in Stockton. But check out Iola. They're already down to 65 degrees, 71, one of the warmer readings in Independence. Looking at dew points, they're very low for this time of year, 57 on Iola. Same thing in Nevada and in Stockton. And this kind of gives us an idea of where the lows are headed for tonight. as the temperature can't drop below the dew point. So we're looking at pleasant and refreshing dew points this evening. And right now in Joplin, a pleasant evening, 69 degrees, northeast wind at 5. Feels like 69, of course, because the dew point is only at 59 and the pressure is currently falling. Taking a look at the fog tracker, we do expect that in some areas there could be some dense fog developing, with visibilities dropping down to around 5 miles in some isolated spots, especially in those areas where they had the heavy rainfall. That's where the best chance of seeing some fog by morning, but by afternoon, all of that will be gone. Rain chances are going to be low over the next 24 to 36 hours, and that's all because we're expecting this ridge of high pressure to start building back into our area as we go towards the weekend, and that means summer-like weather is going to return back to our area as the storm track is going to shift to the north and the summer-like temperatures start to return. But not tonight. We're going to see lows in the mid-50s, so definitely enjoy that. Open up the windows and enjoy the nice cool air. And then as we head towards tomorrow, temperatures are still going to be below normal in the low 80s. And then as we go into Thursday morning, lows will be in the 50s and 60s with westerly winds. And then Thursday afternoon, we're expecting highs to be closer to normal with temperatures in the upper 80s to lower 90s. And then by Friday morning, we're going to see lows pretty much in the 60s and 70s. And over the next 7 days, we're going to be dry all the way until next Friday. And unfortunately, we're going to get close to 100 degrees again, especially as we head towards the weekend. But not too bad of a forecast, certainly for mid-August around here.
Not really. It's not bad at all. I mean, today was beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow's going to be great. I wish we could continue that.
I didn't say it.
You didn't say it at all.
That's right.
All right. Thanks, Sam. Well, crews and first responders are working as fast as they can to make the wildfire zone safe. Residents are becoming frustrated by their inability to return home. Fox's Jake Karalexis has more from Maui.
A whole city destroyed. Generations of Native Hawaiian history turned into ruin.
It's been a week since the massive wildfire broke out in West Maui, and officials here are still assessing the damage. Only 25% of the burn zone has been surveyed, and the remains of 99 victims have been recovered so far. Thousands remain homeless, and President Biden says more help is on the way, promising more federal resources as the recovery effort ramps up.
Every asset they need, will be there for them. And we will be there in Maui as long as it takes.
But anxious residents are getting impatient with the speed of the response. Some say they've had little communication with either the state or federal governments, and they're starting to doubt help will be there for them in the long term.
You need to step it up and just prove it right now. Prove that Lahaina is going to come first over everything right now. You know, that the people of Lahaina will not get displaced.
And as folks wait for the green light to return to what's left of their homes, local aid groups are stepping up their activities on Maui. Many of the volunteers were displaced themselves, and they say helping others is part of the healing process.
I was devastated. I was a wreck. I needed mental health, and I considered myself a strong leader, but it broke me. It still breaks me. This is what keeps me going, helping people.
And as first responders continue combing the area, Hawaii's governor warns the death toll could double. In Maui, Jake Karalexis, Fox News.
Well, coming up in sports, Missouri Southern Athletics announces its new Hall of Fame class. Plus, our high school football season previews continue with the Pittsburgh Purple Dragons. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
High school football is in full swing in the 4 states. Missouri and Oklahoma schools a week and a half into practices. Kansas schools just began taking the field yesterday. That brings us to Pittsburgh this afternoon. Coming off a trip to the state quarterfinals in 2022, the Purple Dragons are emphasizing what their head coach Josh Latimer refers to as DAT, discipline, accountability, and toughness, a brand of football that other teams don't want to play. And his group is counting down the days to show that attitude against an opponent.
We got 17 days. We've counted it down. We got it on the board in there, and we play Emporia. Emporia Spartans, we go up there to their place, and they got us last year, so we owe them. They beat us in overtime on a field goal, and I think it's driven the boys to be able to push themselves this summer.
It's awesome. We've been working throughout the summer, and we've been working hard in the weight room, getting
getting stronger, and we've been running and getting our work in there. We're very excited to be back on the field, and we're ready to play. We're going to be pretty good. We've had a new offense started last year. We ran it very well, and this year we're just going to be 10 times better. We're going to have more plays, and we're just running the same plays over again, and we're going to look good.
And Missouri Southern makes some news this afternoon. They announce a new class of 6 inductees into the MSSU Athletics Hall of Fame. Now that features 5 former student athletes and 1 donor or a linebacker. The 5 former student athletes inducted on October 28th start with Danny Jones, who was a 7-time MIAA champ in women's track and field. Nikki Nill, top goal scorer in women's soccer program history with MSSU. Harold Noir Felice, the greatest running back, many think, in football program's history. Katie Taylor, who holds the record in wins, shutouts, saves, and goals allowed as a goaltender in soccer. And Brandon Williams, program record holder in football in sacks and tackles for loss. Then Bill Martz, who has been attending Lions games since the mid-1970s. And in Major League Baseball, Royals and Cardinals, both winners last night. They stay at home tonight, each of them hoping to start a couple of winning streaks. Royals in trouble right now, though. Down 8-5 in the 8th. And as you can read right there, unfortunately, Bobby Witt Jr. quite literally cannot play every position on the field and bat all 9 spots in the order. A day after hitting an inside-the-park home run, he one-ups himself, hits a grand slam in tonight's game. Mariners scored 7 runs in the 4th inning, though. That's kept them in the lead. Things much better for the Cardinals, though. In fact, they win. Favorable matchup against the MLB's worst team in terms of wins and losses, Oakland. They win it 6-2. Redbirds get a great start out of Dakota Hudson. He goes 6 2/3, strikes out 3, only allows 2 earned runs, and he gets the win. That's all for sports. Back with more news after this.
A small city in Florida is leading the way in a major settlement with a major manufacturer over forever chemicals in drinking water. Fox News senior correspondent Casey Stiegel has the story.
In 2016, the EPA told employees of the city of Stuart, Florida, that their water supply had unacceptably high levels of PFAS, also called forever chemicals, sparking a costly cleanup process.
Just the shock of knowing that you were known for your best tasting drinking water for a decade or 2 prior to this happening.
The EPA says PFAS exposure may lead to a number of health problems, including an increase in the risk of some cancers. This year, the agency proposing to lower the acceptable threshold of some PFAS types to just 4 parts per trillion.
There are a lot of water providers there that have that problem and don't have the financial capabilities of funding a cleanup like that.
The city of Stuart then became the representative case for over 100 other communities, claiming that the potentially harmful compounds made by the company 3M contaminated water supplies, mainly through firefighting foam. A pending settlement worth at least $10 billion was reached in June to go toward remediation costs. A 3M spokesperson saying it will, quote, benefit U.S.-based public water systems nationwide.
In this case, the evidence was pretty overwhelming that by no later than 1980, 3M knew these chemicals were toxic.
More than 20 attorneys general are pushing a federal court to reject that settlement. That's the latest from Dallas. Casey Stiegel, Fox News.
In a first-of-its-kind trial, a Montana state judge ruled in favor of 16 young environmental activists this week. The judge says Montana's government has not been upholding its state constitutional obligation to provide a clean and healthy environment. The young plaintiffs argued that they were being harmed by wildfire smoke, excessive heat, and other climate change issues.
I hope that because Judge Seeley ruled our current energy policy unconstitutional, that we might be able to construct an energy policy that's more in line with Montana's goals and constitution.
Montana state policy prevents agencies from looking at greenhouse gas emissions when evaluating fossil fuel permits, something the judge ruled as unconstitutional. Coming up, we'll learn about promising research looking to slow the aging process of man's best friend. Scientists in North Carolina want man's best friend to be around a lot longer. They're leading new research to delay the aging process in dogs. As Brett Neese reports, it appears to already be showing signs of success.
Evan Blount has had his pug for 9 years and can't imagine life without him.
Well, he's with me all the time. I've often referred to him as my shadow. He sleeps with me in the bed. He's just, if I move out of the room, he's in the next room with me.
Unfortunately, no dog lives forever. But Dr. Natasha Olby at NC State is on a mission to give dog lovers a little more time with their best friends.
When I see the ravages of aging in the clinic every day as a veterinarian, and how we tend to shy away from the very complicated cases that have multiple problems, of course that becomes more intriguing to me.
Her research began in 2018, and it's now in the late stages of their first clinical trial. Olby is looking at whether or not certain supplements can slow the aging process. The goal is to keep a dog's mind sharp and maintain its senses and mobility.
We know that we can quantify many of these changes very safely. We didn't want to cause any harm, but in addition that dogs actually really enjoy it, so it's quite positive for them.
70 dogs are in this study. One group received the supplement while the other received a placebo. It wraps up in December.
It's pretty terrifying, particularly if you see a big effect. You're always like, oh, is that going to be the placebo, or is it going to be what we're testing? But it's very exciting, and it's what all the owners want to know as well.
While this research won't make our dogs live forever, it could give us more quality time. And for owners like Blount, well, that's priceless.
Not only is it probably good for the dogs, it's probably good for humans as well. But, you know, if we can have these guys a little longer, it's excellent.
If they can make something to make my dog want to stop escaping all the time. That's our time for night. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with video of a mother and Joey wallabies at the Brookfield Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.